These are the first two episodes of the television series Alien Land. A deep space research ship crashes in the middle of a megalopolis. Soldiers and prototypes of cybernetic hybrids are moving to the crash site to face the threat of predatory alien life. The series begins in the year 2120. Humanity has learned how to build synths, android robots, and improve human bodies with cybernetic implants. The next step is the transfer of human consciousness into the synth's body, which opens the way to immortality. The corporation that does this first will have unlimited power. The story is transferred to the Maginot spacecraft, owned by the Weyland-Yutani Company, which has been roaming the expanses of the Bolshoi Theater for 64 years. The crew is coming out of suspended animation to adjust their courses and check their well-being. In the process, the captain finds out from the onboard synth that it is still 4 months to fly to Earth. To save fuel and avoid getting fined by the corporation, the captain suggests disabling some unnecessary ship systems, or even get rid of the cargo of samples of alien life, the collection of which is the purpose of their mission. Cyborg Morrow doesn't like the idea, while the crew, having checked the calculations, lies down in the capsules to spend the rest of the journey in cryosleep. A biologist tinkers with alien creatures, admiring their alien beauty. The story is transferred to Earth, to the island of Neverland, owned by Prodigy. There, Cindy Kirsch shows a terminally ill girl, Marcy, a scorpion, but not something that cool fatalities can do, but boring, ordinary ones. Then Sylvia takes the girl to the laboratory, where they are greeted by Boy Cavaliere, the head of the corporation. Cavaliere tells the girl about Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon. And for Marcia, I'm ready to learn how to become the first hybrid. Her consciousness will be transferred to Synth's body. Lying on the table, the girl falls asleep to the cartoon Peter Pan. When she wakes up in a new body, she takes the name Wendy in honor of the cartoon character. The artificial body is able to withstand a fall from a height and run fast. Kirsch and Sylvie explain that she was moved to an adult body because the synths do not grow. You need to choose the final size right away. But there is also a problem. The synthetic body does not produce hormones naturally, which affects mood, but they can be controlled from the outside. They also say that a new batch of experimental children has arrived sick and stunted. Wendy can help them with the transition to a new position as an older sister, to which she happily agrees. Her mind is the mind of a little girl who needs friends. Wendy meets new test subjects, promising them that they will soon become smart, beautiful, and strong, just like her. Only modesty is not on this list. Soon Prodigy, under the guidance of Cavaliere, gradually transfers the consciousness of children into new synthetic bodies. At this time, on the approach to Earth, Maginot suffers a disaster. Biological samples escape from the outside, causing genocide of the crew. Morrow locks himself in the computer room and seals the door so that his comrades cannot open it. He changes the ship's course and reports to Earth that the crew is dead, and he hides in a secret chamber when one of the alien monsters sneaks into the control room. Maginot crashes into the orbital station and, having lost control, falls to the ground. On the planet, Wendy, using her new body's skills to hack computer systems, watches her brother named CJ through surveillance cameras while Prodigy's technicians watch her. Along the way, Hybrid remembers watching cartoons with her brother as a child. CJ works as a medic in the private Prodigy Army in New York City, owned by a corporation. During his regular morning shift, he and his colleagues in front of the business see a Maginot ship in low flight. He gracefully crashes right into a cluster of skyscrapers. A private army immediately moves in to restore order and provide first aid. Arriving at the crash site, CJ's squad, whose call sign is Hermit, makes their way past the wounded and ruins to the upper floors to find the entrance to the ship. Having found a suitable hatch, the soldiers climb aboard the ship along a thin iron beam. They do not suspect that the surviving culprit of the Morrow accident is getting out of the secret compartment at this time. Noticing the soldiers, he tells the onboard computer to report to his superiors that the valuable cargo is being threatened by competitors. Wendy, noticing her brother's face in a news report during a test, suggests an ingenious plan to Cavalier send their hybrid squad to help. They are stronger and faster than ordinary people. After thinking about it, the boss agrees, after which the entire squad of experimental infantry loads helicopters under Kirsch's supervision and is sent to the city. On the way, Kirsch tells the girl that once people were just food in the food chain of the animal kingdom until they learned how to use tools. But for some species, they have remained nothing more than food. It's a smart idea, but it'll come in handy later. At this time, Morrow, threatening with a pistol, captures 2 soldiers from CJ's squad. After disarming the rescuers, the cyborg ties them them to a pipe and he leaves. At this time, the rest of the soldiers find cryocambers with the corpses of the crew members. They look like something broke out of the chest, broke through the glass, and escaped. One of the chained soldiers is simultaneously bitten by an alien leech, drinking a lot of blood and swelling to an indecent size, like a cookie in a mug of tea. Then the same bloodsucker jumps on the second soldier. CJ and his colleagues Sibirskaya and Rashida are exploring the interior of the fallen ship. Making their way through dark, gloomy corridors, they reach the operating room, which is full of corpses. A brief analysis of them suggests to the doctor that they died not as a result of a crash or an unsuccessful operation, but from the effects of some kind of toxin. Some kind of toxic smell suffocated them so that they suffocated. After watching the recording of the operated patient, CJ realizes that he had a foreign object in his body. On the way out, the medic secretly admits to Rashida that he suspects that the crew on the crashed ship was dealing with an alien parasite and not some kind of nanny like Stitch. At this time, on Neverland, Cavalier discusses the prospects of hybrids with Sylvia. The company's boss shares humanity's concern about artificial intelligence. A smart car will build an even smarter car, which is even smarter, and so on, until this progression destroys people by catching a computer virus that causes Skynet inflammation. But the human mind in a synthetic body is not just a step towards immortality. It is also a powerful boost of intelligence, unlimited by the capabilities of the biological brain. And the genius Cavalier lacks interlocutors smarter than himself. On the way to the accident site, Wendy confesses to Slightly that her brother is working at the crash site, an ordinary man whom she wants to help. Slightly, don't be a fool, immediately blabbed about it to the rest of the team. 3 soldiers, having got off the ship, go out onto the damaged flight of stairs to go down. Having reached the collapsed spans, Sibirskaya tells him to jump over the rift. Rashidi wins first. When the second in command almost falls, he manages to grab her by the gear up and drag it to the stove. When it's the medic's turn to show the wonders of balancing, someone's saliva starts dripping from a hole in the ceiling onto him. Aiming a pistol, he sees an impudent, shiny alien face in the doorway and jumps to the other side in horror. The monster runs after him, after which they fall a flight below. The stranger runs down the corridor after CJ, who barely manages to get into the elevator. Climbing up, he tries to warn the others on the radio about the monster, but does not get a connection. Along the way, the guy remembers how the day before he tried to leave the army to go to university. Wendy watched him through the cameras of the robot administrator and even hacked it remotely to transmit a quote from their favorite cartoon. But after that, the robot refused the guy's request, returning him to the service. A hybrid squad led by Kersh arrives at the crash site. Here they are coordinated with the working military. While the colonel brings the chief up to date, Wendy switches the surveillance cameras to find her brother. She finds him in the elevator on the 65th floor, and then, without further ado or permission from her superiors, she goes in search of him. Kersh is forced to send Slidley along with her in order to somehow control the situation. The Cavalier on Neverland is following the data coming from the hybrids with interest. His entertainment is interrupted by a call from the head of the Yutani Corporation, one of the owners of the crashed ship. The woman offers to compensate for the damage, but in return wants her people to take the ship away from the crash site. The head of the project refuses, citing legal subtleties. He understands that there is something extremely valuable on board, although he does not yet know what, but it will definitely come in handy on the farm. Kersh and a team of the remaining hybrids rise in oil. Inside, they find some kind of plant or animal on the ceiling. There's only one thing for sure about him: Gordon Freeman shot to kill in Halva. The Elder sends Curly, Smee, and Nips in search of something with which to safely close the unknown organism while he is with Tuttlesome guards him. While exploring the ship, the hybrids come across Prodigy soldiers chained to the sea. They look like dried mummies. Alien leeches have sucked all the juices out of them. Looking around the room, the guys notice a cat, but it's not a gentle purr, but a torn mutant. The cat suddenly loses an eye, which turns out to be a spider-like alien parasite. The alien attacks Nips, but she manages to put her hands up. After dropping the parasite on the table, the hybrids cover it with a tin basin. On the upper floors, CJ meets a fellow soldier. After making sure that he did not see a large predatory animal nearby, the medic helps him make his rounds. They knock on the apartment door to evacuate the tenants, but a decadent party is taking place inside, and the owner, in the best traditions of decadent moods, prefers to feast during the plague. Attempts to reach him end in failure. Turning around, CJ sees an alien lurking on the sculpture in the lobby. He began to move. The monster attacks a medical colleague, punching his skull with its retractable jaw, after which it shakes the corpse from side to side like a dog toy. The decadent opens the door to the noise. Mistaking the gesture for an invitation to the buffet, the xenomorph breaks into the hut. Pinned down by a discarded corpse, CJ loots a comrade's machine gun and sneaks in search of a predator who staged a bloody party. In the hall, he finds a pile of bitten corpses and half of the owner crawling into the distance. The hero of the occasion himself is hiding on the second floor, from where he jumps at the young man. CJ is saved from being eaten by Morrow, who stuns the beast with an electric shock. The guy wants to thank the savior, but he also arranges shock therapy for him. Morrow then wraps the alien in a bag with a special spray and drags him away, without explaining anything to heighten the intrigue. No sooner had he dragged the stolen carcass to the elevator than polite people appeared and politely asked what he was doing here. Before Morrow could explain anything, something moved in the bag. The soldiers tell him to turn away and put his hands on his head, which he does, while trying to explain that it's not him they need to be afraid of. Cyborg says it feels fear, but it doesn't help. The awakened xenomorph behind his back unwinds the enemy squad in a matter of seconds. Not smelling anything tasty in the cyborg, the monster runs away. Kirsch, not waiting for the wards, goes in search of them. In the room where they digest what happened, Synth connects to the ship's computer, from where he draws information that Maginot collected samples of alien life was a kind of space zoo. Curly calls Tuttles, who is showing interest in an alien plant. Wendy and the Slideleys reach the floor where the xenomorph has staged a massacre. Looking around the surrounding area, they find CJ waking up after an electric shock in the next apartment. He understands that this is a synth, and although the hybrids say that they are something more, when the guys are called by Kirsch, the three of them go to the spaceship that crashed into the building. On the way, confused by the strange behavior of his new acquaintances, CJ talks to them. In the process, Slidley blurts out the secret that Wendy is his sister Marcy, whom the guy thought was dead because her body was buried. The girl explains that complete secrecy was one of the conditions of Cavalier's experiment, but she is actually his sister. As proof, Wendy tells some facts from their shared childhood. Soon they stumble upon a clutch of strange eggs, as if it were a cosmic Easter. Sage, out of natural naivety, tries to look into one of them out of curiosity, but then a xenomorph appears and jumps on it. Together they fall through a hole in the wall down, and Wendy, leaving Slidley to watch the eggs, runs to help her brother. This is the end of the first 2 episodes of the series.